Hi, and welcome back to Cheyenne Life. This is Debbie. Hope everyone is doing well out there wherever you are. I know that there's some food shortages going on and a whole bunch of other things. And I'm not going to make this a huge, long, drawn-out garden tour, but I just wanted to show the garden after the hailstorm. This is another update to the previous videos that I had after the hailstorm and all of the plants that I had replaced. But I just wanted to show how they are really taking off now. And I'm not going to describe every single plant that is in here. We've had to buy some plants because they had to be replaced that were completely destroyed after the hailstorm. But most of these are still my own seed. Most of my own seedlings, most of my own seed in here. And I'm starting off at the area of my garden. I have 5 garden plots actually. 4 of which are a lot smaller than this main garden plot, and some people might call this probably in some of the European countries a kitchen garden, or even here back in the day would have been called a kitchen garden because it kind of surrounds our house. This was converted flower beds. Originally the flower beds were smaller, but not much smaller than what they are right now. I only extended a little bit of the garden, but this would be, I guess, the kitchen garden attached to the old Victorian house that we have here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. As you can see, quite large. We have 4 levels on the house. And not a whole lot of land because most of the land is taken up by the size of the house. And we have this large of a house because my partner is in the computer chip industry. And he uses most of the space inside for his computer chips. Anyway, this is the house, all of my container plants. I did pick up a couple of other plants yesterday at Walmart that were on clearance because they looked so beautiful to just let them die off, so I picked them up. We'll get those planted in soon, but you can see everything in the containers is doing just wonderfully. All of my cantaloupes and all of this good stuff, and cucumbers. And we really extended out a lot of the garden space with doing container planting this season. We probably altogether have about anywhere from, I haven't counted them, but probably 50 to 75 containers all throughout the garden and along these edges like this that is growing food for us. And as you know, with the food shortages that are going on, we need all the space that we can get to grow as much as we can. And this is the herb garden, which I also have some squash planted out here and cantaloupes and things like that, and chamomile and lemon balm, and got some black petunias and verbena and elf thyme, acorn squash, gladolias, all kinds of flowers, all kinds of stuff is in this little section. And we're starting to decorate for July 4th. So we're putting flags around everywhere, might as well. And of course it's always a constant cleanup as well. So this is back looking at the container garden again. And we have containers all along the back side, as well as containers here sitting along the garden. Lovely Tahitian squash. Got the 3 sisters going on with my corn, and there's beans that I just planted in between each of the corn stalks yesterday because the corn is now a couple of weeks old. We're still waiting on some of it. This is a more shaded area here in this back section, so the corn's coming up a little bit slower back here, but I did go ahead and put some beans in there anyway. And that's looking at the Tahitian squash again. So kind of a modified 3 sisters. Got some acorn squash here, and some crimson sweet watermelon here. A white pumpkin right there tucked in, and then another white pumpkin there, and another over to the right side of it. This is the original white pumpkin. had a lot of damage in the hailstorm, and it has came back out again. That was actually the third time that white pumpkin has been damaged, either by being broken, wind, or whatever, and now it's really just starting to flourish and take off. So hopefully we won't get another hailstorm, but it has been rainy here in the last couple of days. Rain and cool temperatures were down in the mid to lower 60s. I'm actually wearing a sweatshirt today because it's chilly. And that is the potatoes. We've got the red Norland and then also the Kennebec in the front. And when it comes to next season and I get potato seeds again, or potato seed potatoes, I will be getting Kennebecs and replacing the red Norland, because the red Norland this season has not bloomed and it is already beginning to die off here in the front. So I'm hoping that I have potatoes. I've had potatoes in the past where they have not bloomed, so I'm not too worried about it. But I definitely will replace all of this next season with nothing but Kennebecs, and that was the first time I'd seen the Kennebec seed potatoes this season here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, but I always love those the most. And I've got some Idaho potatoes stuck here between the Kennebecs and the red Norland. It's just that the vines are so big. And we're going to see how those do, and they're actually blooming right now, although one of them just now came up. So that potato I thought had died off is just now starting to come up, as you can see right there. So hopefully it catches up with everything else. But red Norland, Kennebec here. And this is the very, very tiny little spot in the concrete that I have some pepper plants, my hens and chicks. I've got some sunflowers that I just planted yesterday that'll be coming up in the next couple of days. I've got some shallots tucked here in the back, and then a red curry squash tucked right over here in the corner. And then this is looking at another container tomato over there to the right side, and all of my tomato plants, most of which I had started from my own seed. And this seems to be that it's going to be a good bean year if they don't get killed out. I've got asparagus beans and Blue Lake long pole beans that'll be running up these trellises. And all of them came up, so that's great. And I've got some pepper plants tucked here in the front, 6 of those from my own seed. And also some cilantro that I had just planted a couple of days ago and is now just beginning to come up. And all of my dill along the front. Looks like my dogs just got sent out to go to potty, and they're barking right there. And then this is the rest of the garden. I've got my cucumbers, the rest of my tomato plants. Everything's doing wonderful, taking off now and really just getting going. Just look at that. Isn't that just a gorgeous sight? Beautiful, green, lush, really taking off. And then here is my roses. I'd picked up some more flowers. And I couldn't resist picking up these little mini roses. So I've got 3 of those, as well as my standard roses. And all of those roses are now getting ready to bloom. Last I had showed they had not. There is the red rose. And the peach rose has a bloom on it. It just has not bloomed as yet. And then I've got some sunflowers tucked there in the back. And I've started some more cabbage that I'm going to be putting in different places. And I'm getting some more asparagus coming up now, which you can't really see. And all of my onions. The onions are struggling. And I did cut back the trees, some limbs and things like that on the trees, hoping that they would come out a lot better. The onions, they are, but it's a slow process, and I'm not sure they're going to do well, especially because they had gotten a huge amount of damage from the hailstorm. So we'll see. We'll see. If we don't have onions, then hopefully I can find some at a farmer's market and grab a big sack of those. And then there is my white It's actually kind of a pale pink rose, and the older that the blooms get, they turn white. So I think it's more of an older type of rose, and it always smells so wonderfully in comparison with the other roses. But just a beautiful, beautiful variety. So I've got the pale pink white, the red, and then this one is actually a really very bright, stunning peach that I'll show you when it blooms. And we've got some more of the container garden tucked here and there throughout. And the rhubarb that I was worried about is just now doing wonderfully. It only has the 2 leaves because it got almost every leaf torn up on it. Get out of the garden. And so it's now having to put up more new leaves. And I had cleaned up this section, and I've got some more flowers tucked in the back, some zinnias. Another one of my tomatoes that's kind of tucked in here. We've got some cress hanging up, watercress hanging up here. And more of my mini roses, the chocolate mint, and the rest of the garden, all doing beautifully after the hailstorm damage, really trying to come back out. And I'm getting so many blooms on my flowers now, as well as the rest of the container garden. My fuchsia, and all of my mint plants. At this point, I think I have like 5 different types of mint. I've got chocolate, peppermint, sweet mint, regular mint, and lemon mint. And I finally got my hands on a Gerbera daisy. It seemed like it took forever for them to find them. And my other ones had gotten killed by the hailstorm that I had started from my own seed. And all of my mustard and my kale. Thumbelina, get out of the garden. Go on. Go on. And kohlrabi. Got both white and purple kohlrabi. My jack-o'-lanterns, which are really taking off now. This one has actually got a bloom on it. Yay! And I tucked away some other squash plants in the back, getting lots more blooms on my hanging baskets. This area is just one of our places that we like to hang out in. Just looking gorgeous. My other rhubarb, I had picked up another one, so I've got 3 in total. And this one has a lot larger leaves, so I'm looking forward to that one. And this one is starting to put leaves on again. It got damaged in the hailstorm. And then I still have to set out my blueberries, my raspberries, and my azaleas. I picked up another 2 azaleas, so I've got 4 in total now. And then I've got some butternut squash that's tucked along this edge. Sorry about that. It's a military helicopter going over because we have an air base here. So just let that finish going over. Alright, and we've got butternut squash tucked in here that's now starting to take off. It was only planted about a week and a half ago, so it's just really taken some time to get it going. And as you can see, we are still decorating for July 4th. Just putting flags out. All of my lilies over in the north section. And I did get a peony. So I have a peony that I just planted a couple of days ago. And some more jack-o'-lanterns that I had tucked in here and there. You see those 2 there. And my strawberries are beginning to bloom again after almost being obliterated from squirrels and birds. And more of my lilies and the rhododendron coming out. So that's a small garden tour. Hope everyone is doing well wherever you are. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.